All right. Well, welcome to the um, the January call for Microsoft 365. Sorry, maturity model for Microsoft 365. First call in 2025. We have our pal Pia is going to be talking about getting leadership buy-in when you're talking, excuse me, about doing maturity model efforts within your organization. I think she's got some great thoughts about that. Could you please go to the next slide?
Yes.
So we will, for those of you who may have not been joining us in the past, we will be giving you a bit of an overview of what the maturity model actually is and what its artifacts are and what you can do with them. We'll do a picture and a live video capture, and we will then talk about how you can contribute, and then we will hand it over to Pia, who will illuminate us with her brilliance on how to get leadership buy-in.
Oh, don't stop, Mark. Continue. Tell me more.
Well, go to the next slide and maybe I'll give you some more. All right. So if you'd like to keep joining us going forward, we have monthly calls. There are a few exceptions. We have a schedule coming up where we'll show you when those exceptions are. But that link will add a recurring meeting invitation to your calendar if you'd like to do that. You could also keep an eye on Meetup, where we're a part of the global Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Meetup events. I cross-post things there. Hopefully I don't forget from month to month because that's relatively new. Next slide. So who would like to talk about this one? I'm happy to keep going.
Oh, I don't mind picking up if you want.
There you go, Simon.
Yeah, what's the purpose of all of this? Why are we doing all this? Well, to be honest, it's really, well, I don't know about you, but I love working on cool projects, and it's about how can we describe the cool things which we can do with Microsoft 365 and help improve how the business works and performs and does things. The purpose of this is to allow us to be able to work with the senior management teams, with the rest of the people in the business, so they can understand what the benefits are to improve communication and collaboration and all these good things we talk about, our competencies. And this session that Pia is going to do is really, again, is another step to help us to be able to kind of get these cool ideas and projects which are going to really help move a business forward, agreed upon. So the purpose of this is to help share that knowledge, share the benefits, the impacts by improving your maturity in these competencies. So we improve the business and we're able to leverage the M365 platform to do that. We've got published competencies, we've got practical scenarios, which are looking at how we can apply this capability and the maturity model to improve these things. We've got supporting articles which kind of give that grounding of what we mean by search or communication, and then we've got some how to elevate, so how we'll help describe the things you can do to move your maturity from one level to another. So we've still got a couple in progress, and I believe Mats is starting to work on the security one, and we've got to sort out some people to help us out with the data analytics. And if anybody's up for that, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, that's about it. Next slide. So to help understand how we can move our maturity, we use these set of levels from 1 to 500, where 100 is that initial kind of default state that organizations might be in if they've just kind of switched something on. And so we've got the intent on the right hand side, which kind of helps us sort of show where we are. But yeah, level 100 is, we're just sort of reacting to things. We just need to keep things going. We're spending all our time putting the fires out. But then as we want to move away from that chaotic world, moving up the levels to level 200, where we start to realize that, we need to improve these things. We need to understand and make sure that people understand and know what they need to be doing. So we're in 200, we're kind of working our way, feeling our way through to level 300, which is where ideally, if you're going to look to choose to apply a competency, you want to be at level 300 if you choose to do that. And you're not going to always want to do that for every competency. But this is where we've defined our processes, things work in a nice way. People understand how to get things done and do the right thing. And then from there, we can really start to kind of get some benefit where we start looking at building and improving that maturity by measuring and looking about how we can improve the competency through measuring and analysis up to this kind of level 500 panacea where we're in a sort of a nirvana state and everything is working the way that we want it to do and it's resilient and effective. Right, next slide, please.
And now it's time for the fun stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So while Simon is our videographer, and he always is quite good at it, but I always have to do a little filler, right, Simon?
You do. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job.
You know, because it's me waving my arms and talking and stuff like that. So those of you who would like to be part of our little video picture for the month, please come off camera and Simon will capture all of us in some interesting background setting, waving and smiling and just having the most wonderful time. It's it's part of the P&P call tradition to do this for every call.
Right,
it's a tradition that sometimes works quickly and sometimes doesn't, but that's okay.
One day I'm going to really nail this, but yeah.
But right. Then it wouldn't be. Then I wouldn't have anything to talk about.
This is true. This is true. Right. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Right.
All right.
Record. 3, 2, 1. If we could all start waving, that would be fantastic. Oh, lovely to see you all.
And we will share this with the appropriate law enforcement agencies. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. This is purely for fun. It's just nice to know that we have people joining us on these calls and that you're all smiling and waving and having a good time.
Thank you very much, all. That's fantastic. Lovely to see you all.
Pia, back to you.
Yes. Okay, so
I've stolen the
that's
you got it. Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. You will see that picture, that video in this spot next month.
Yeah, and I hope that you pick the part where I actually did the bunny ears on Galen. You know, otherwise I will be angry.
All right, Pia, I will definitely do that. I'm going to make sure.
Thank you. So, who wants to do this slide? Is this a new slide?
Well, there was a gap there. I will jump in. How can you get involved with this effort? You're here as an attendee, so that's certainly one of the options. We'd also love you to think about what you could present on one of these calls. This is very much a community-driven thing. We have a core team, we put thoughts together, we put them out there in the world, but we get feedback from all of you. So, you know, if you have a case study, something that you've accomplished in your organization that you feel is connected to the work that we do with the maturity model, we would love to have you present. All of the content that is part of the maturity model that Simon just talked about is available on GitHub for pull requests. If you're not a GitHub person, that may sound very intimidating, but we can help you with that. So if you get in touch with one of us, we can take your ideas, or, you know, if you see a spelling mistake, any kind of contribution makes a difference. If you have thoughts about additional content, additional competencies, all of that sort of stuff, we'd love to hear it. And then just share the content out. You know, make sure that people in your social circle know about the maturity model for Microsoft 365 as a tool set. We think that it's of some value, all of us who are on the core team. And, you know, if you share it out there, we'll have more people on these calls. It looks like we've got 65 people today, which is a very healthy number. We would love to have this get bigger. And, you know, we've been going at this for about 4 years, 5 years now, and we'd like to think that we're part of a movement that's got value. So if there's anything that you'd like to accomplish by contributing, please get in touch with one of us, or do the things on this slide, and we appreciate your attendance and your interest. Next slide. This is our schedule for the first half of 2025. We're working on firming up the second half. Today we're talking about leadership buy-in with Pia. Next month we'll talk about how to run a maturity model workshop. We've done a session on that before, but we wanted to revisit it because we think it's a good way to get your organization up to speed. The month after that, in March, we will talk about the maturity model and AI agents, how they can fit together. In April, we'll talk about practical scenario on branding. And Simon Doy is going to talk about AI agents, and Simon Hudson will talk about branding. And then in May, we will talk about a security culture, and Galen's going to lead that one. And I should have your last name there. Sorry about that, Galen. Galen Keene. And if you have any, like I said on the previous slide, if there are any ideas that you have for contributing, for doing a presentation, please let us know, because we do have open slots after that.
Yeah, and also please let us know if there's a particular topic or something that you want to deep dive into, because we are listening so much to you and want to that everyone who joins this community call gets something out of it. So if, just let us know what you're curious about and what you need help on. Yes.
So thank you, all you December attendees. We had a huge list of people. You can see there on the right. There's the invitation again. Our next call, in case you missed it on the previous slide, is February 18th, my dad's birthday, in case any of you want to bring presents. We'll be talking about how to run a maturity model workshop. He will be 87.
Wow.
And that sharing is caring link will take you to other things that the PNP community offer to help you with some of the components of how we manage content. And I believe the next slide is intro to the, nope, sorry. Who wants to talk about what we're working on? And I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah. So so this is what we're currently working on, isn't it? As I sort of as discussed earlier, we've got this data analytics competency to call out for anybody who would love to help out there. Apologies if somebody always has said that they're going to do this, but I don't think they have. Security competency is being worked on, so that's fantastic. And then we were going to visit the management of content as well, because things have sort of moved on, and such a quite a popular competency. So start looking at reviewing that and seeing that. And I know that Mr. Hudson has been working on the sparkles as well. Came out with him earlier too. So that it's got a couple more competencies done there as well. So that's where we are. But yes, if anybody's got any thoughts, feedback, ideas, please just reach out. We're here and we're listening.
Yeah.
So
here we go. Now we're getting into it. So I'm gonna take over and be the one talking nonstop, but I don't want to be talking nonstop. So I do want you to raise your hands and do comments. I won't be able to see your comments very well because I didn't set up this very well before this meeting. I'm sorry. I prioritized to get coffee. I should have done this in a small window, but everyone will probably just do a shout out if there is something in the comments that I need to talk about. Did anyone say anything? No? Okay. Yeah. So please do raise your hand and do emojis and please, I love to be interrupted with these things. Okay. So who am I? I'm basically I'm a leadership coach and a change manager, and I help the upper levels and middle levels of management to actually do the work to get it done. I migrate to and push organizations further up into the cloud. I'm based in the SharePoint, so I do love document management to a fault, I believe. I've been working with it for more than 20 years in many different roles. And I'm always, I love the cloud. I'm Swedish, born and bred, and I lately joined the core team, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I think it's a lot of fun. So this is who I am. So let's get into it. Why is leadership buy-in so hard? Because we in IT are doing it wrong. And yes, it is our problem. We need to understand that we cannot talk about technology in a way that we want to talk about technology. So thinking of that, we are in IT, leadership people that think that we're aliens. And we just if we just give them more details and be more specific, I can get them to understand what we're talking about. And all of these things that we're saying are probably very true, but the management people, they don't understand, and they just think of us as a cost center and that we're nagging again. And they just hear the radio gaga and they just want to leave. And we're standing there and saying oh, we just need to get some more details. That's not the way to go. We need to talk to them with their language and make it clear from their point of view and their priorities based on their perspective. So we are, part of a team. It's IT, legal, HR, comms, and facility. These are the ones that I think should be involved in working with, maturing the organization to move forwards. We're the one rowings. The leadership are looking forward. So if we come to them and complain about the oars and the wood isn't very good and something like that, they will be like, well, it sounds like a you problem. You should go and just say, I need better resources to be able to, deliver on what you expect me to do. If you get too specific, they will not see how they can help you. They just see okay, if I learn all of these things, if I understand everything that you're talking about, that would mean that I'm an IT person, and I don't want to be that. And that's your job. My job is to be a leader. My job is not to be in tune with every technical detail. So if we're talking about things that they're too details. So the number one thing that we need to do is talk about the longer perspective. Low hanging fruit, that is not what we, take up to the leadership. That's not what we lead with. And we need to talk about the entire company, not just the IT. We need to talk about how this impacts other areas, make them better. We have to talk about people and customers. We also have to think about their time and their experience, and also the future and risks. IT and legal, we're in the same boat there, talking about the future and risk. It's always we don't know and we'll see and these things, but we have to help them. We have to help, the leadership understand these things. And also the cost of it all. Their job is to not ruin the company. So if you have money that you can throw on everything, then you have another problem. You need to focus. So it's always about priorities. So for me to explain this very well without saying ums and ah and everything, I've made a story of Pancom. It's very fictional, and it's also very common. And this is the really fun stuff is that the next session we're going to do, we're going to act out as Pancom. So we can see okay, how did we reach to this level and how to do this? So just talking from the maturity model, this is a company that started out with an average of 156, focusing on 8 competencies, and set a target of an average of 279. And that is a maturity of 132, which is manageable and sensible. But this doesn't make sense now, but it will later and definitely in a month. It's going to be so much fun. So Pancom is a company with 80 employees, been around for a while, and people are complaining to Gail, who is the CEO, that some of the customers are dropping out and they think they're slow. There have been some mismatch. They got not the latest version of something, so the customers are not super happy. Think they're slow, and the employees are complaining about productivity and things like that. So, but Gail, the CEO, has a hard time just connecting the dots. It's just complaints. That's what you hear all the time. So they start small steps, but it's inefficient. They start with a pilot group to work on the digital workplace. So there's small steps, but it doesn't really impact the business as they want to. The maturity goes slow. So they get a consultant to come and help out, Stephen. So he gets into it, talking to everyone and helping everyone. And then, bam, there's a security incident. One of the very senior consultants left their computer on a train. And there's a major crisis because there's a lot of sensitive information. This is a PR company. So if these things leaks, yes, it's a big wow. It's if it leaks, it's a disaster. So the CEO puts together a crisis meeting, and the crisis meeting itself needed a crisis meeting. Everyone was pointing fingers, saying like, "Oh, we don't have enough resources, and no, we can't wipe it on from afar because it's not onboarded to an Intune." And HR be like, "Well, it's not my problem. There's no training." No, because we haven't invested in that, because we haven't seen that. So everyone is just pointing fingers at each other, and then they decide to do the quick assessment workshop, because Stephen is there and just says it all connects. It all impacts each other. We have the training and we have so many different things that we need to work on. It's not one thing that we have to fix. So based on the quick assessment workshop, based on what they, of the risks that they saw and what they had to fix, they put up a roadmap for the next 12 months. And they had the right focus and the right mandate and the right people in the room. As in the step 2, they tried to do something, but it was not enough. It wasn't the right people and the right reach, and didn't have, a complete vision coming with it. And then now Pancom is back in control and there is clarity on what they're going to do. So this is the result of the workshop that we're going to do next month. So we have the IT department, HR department, sales and marketing, and creative operations hub. There were some differences in things like this is a very good company that are good in person. They have a lot of great meetings together, workshops together, but they're not very digital. So they rarely came in. They didn't come over 200 on anything just because it wasn't digital. But they had the right focus with the people, but they needed to put in the digital things. So looking at this image in a better view, so we have the competencies that were main focus and some competencies that were adjacent to those main focus, and those things that were just like, we're not prioritizing this right now because nobody can do everything at once. It's not possible. But they had a starting point that was quite bad, actually. Staff and training looks very, very bad, but also there were senior consultants. So everyone came in the height of their competency for PR and communications. So there wasn't really a need for a training system. But now, based on this incident that happened, it was clear that we needed to do that because of information security and IT security. People don't understand all the little things that are happening all the time. So And at the end of the 12 months, they've moved it a lot forward. We can see that the governance, risk, and compliance and infrastructure, they really took a big step here. And this is huge. So looking at it from a leadership perspective, and her initial state, it was fragmented in complaints and skepticism. She just didn't connect with the client and internal frustrations, and also looking at what is the core that we always need to have it. So coming in, and then the George incident really put a light on everything. And this, I'm so sorry to say, but most of the time when leadership really listens is based on an incident. The worst case scenario, it's an incident that you have internally. Best case scenario is that you can actually build on someone else's mistake, that you don't really have to be able sitting in that room pointing fingers. So the incident really made her open her eyes, and also the quick assessment workshops, sitting there listening to all of the different areas of the organization. I mean, like, okay, it actually connects. So, and when you've done that, then you come to the low-hanging fruit. Like in this story, Stephen got really close to the IT manager, and they fixed some of the security things really quickly. And that were small wins that would build trust. And here this is where we're looking at the quick wins after the big decisions have been taken. And working toward this, the commitment to governance, that actually like to have people from different areas of the organization. I always talk about HR, comms, facility, and legal needs to sit in the boat together with IT to make sure to deliver this system. And also when she backed employee training, to have that consistently, not just a one-off as a project, but it's like, okay, now this is new times. New things are happening all the time. We can't really just hire people that have the competencies that we're missing. We really have to train for this. And also in the story, she makes a couple of tough choices. I will be, and everyone will have access to the story because it's quite a read. I'm not going to win a Pulitzer Prize for it, but it's quite a read, and you will get to it after the next session when we've done the maturity model. So it is an attitude change from leadership. Something has to happen for them to see it from their point of view and everything. And together we chat, GPT, I've done a lot of stuff. So, okay, I want to see some hands now. Does anyone want to see the one-pager that they had the leadership meeting when they took the decision to go ahead? Anyone want to throw up any hands? Yes, someone, a couple of people. Okay, good, thank you. I was just checking that you were still listening. So, this is a slide that works perfectly for management. And I have to say this, that if you want management to listen, leadership to listen, you can't send them long emails. You can't send them long Word documents. They do everything in PowerPoint. So even this is a atrocious slide for a PowerPoint slide. This is how they like to see things. So we have to talk about the bigger picture. For us, this might be a little fluffy. We don't, see things. We don't believe in these numbers, but this is the type of, background that leadership and managers takes decision on. And then, sure, things can change. Sure, it's a gamble. It's always a gamble, but this is what they want to see. They want to see how, what are we going to try to do? How are we going to do it? What are the risks, and how are we going to handle these risks? And leadership takeaways, that what is this? So this is actually what they're going to go out and talk about to all of their people. It's future competitiveness. So nobody wants to be obsolete. So it's a really easy message for leadership to put out there. It's like, we are being more competitive when we're doing this. We're not as those other old stiffs. We're different. And leaders love to, handle risks and employee empowerment. And we have so many different words for this. But it is very important, because getting new people in or people are leaving, it's huge cost. It takes such a long time to get in new people, and recruitment is very expensive. So even though it doesn't seem like leadership would be interested in this, it's a very, very important area for them. And then also everyone's talking about AI. So let's, even, leadership also likes to talk about AI, and making sure that everything is spick and span. It really lays the groundwork for advanced automation and innovation. And this is something that they can talk about, because usually when we're from IT, or maybe if you're from some other area, usually we don't talk, we talk about details. If someone from legal comes and say, like, these are the most important things that you need to talk about, GDPR, then they don't talk about that because they don't understand it. And if they say something and get a question and look like an idiot, they're not going to do that. They're not going to say that. You might, managers are a different breed. Especially when the higher up they are, they're thinking in big strokes. And also looking at costs, we have direct costs, actually money out the door, and we have indirect costs, that time investments, and what kind of savings do we do, and then here we come to the ROI. There are a lot of other KPIs, and I would like everyone to read up about some of the KPIs, especially with the customer or the management group that you're looking at or working with. Like, what are their KPIs, and how can you address these issues in what they're already thinking about? Because then they've already made a decision to work on this. So, what did they actually take a decision about? They do not take decisions about to fix IT stuff, or to balance the technical debt, or to focus on the digital workplace, or even to follow the maturity model. No, they need to take decision about individual initiatives that mean something to the business. So the team structure standardization, secure hardware subscription, and all of these things. There's not, it's not like, okay, we're going to focus on this competency. No, we package different things that we need to address in these competencies, but then looking at, okay, was that question?
I'm sorry, I coughed. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm so disappointed. I was hoping for a question, but a cough. It is what it is. So looking at these initiatives that they did. Oh, Simon, you have a question.
There's just someone. Kim was asking just to sort of understand who Gail and George were. I think that was just something.
Yes. Gail is the CEO of this company, and George is a senior consultant. I don't want to say old, but yeah, he was old. He's been around, and that's why all of the documents on his computer were so sensitive. And he would never leave his computer anywhere, but he did. He left it on the train. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. So we have these initiatives that they took a decision on, and then we're just looking at, okay, what happens? Doing the team structure standardization, it affects business process, collaboration, communication, governance, risk and compliance, and management of content. So even though we start looking from the competencies to see okay, what is your culture, what it is now, so many things of these different kind of initiatives impacts several competencies, and some are dependent on each other. So we can see that infrastructure gets a lot of impact in going on all of these things. And decommissioning the legacy systems, like, this is something that we want. And it also makes a huge money, because backup and management of the old file servers and handling all of that is just, it takes a lot of time and energy, and it's expensive. So it's also that. And then we have the internet overhaul, that has impact on so many things, even though that's usually a smaller initiative. And the e-learning platform, it's also small, but then it's also something that is all of the other things are dependent on. So looking at this, like, yeah, it's a big mess, but even though not everything was touched on, almost everything was touched on. So coming back to then, what do we say? So we need to be a little bit cooler. We need to talk about clear financial upside, risk mitigation as cost avoidance, future competitiveness, recurring value. And then we need to say really cool stuff, like your IT strategy is your business strategy. And talking like this makes the leadership group fall in love with us, because that really means like, okay, these are something that they understand, that they can support, that they can talk about, that they know are good for the business, and that is, things that they can control more and handle more. So this is where they're comfortable. So we need to be able to step up and do this. So, and also so much is important is the psychology of this and the underlying fears behind these behaviors. I'll be coming to the different behaviors after the slide, but there are fear of appearing incompetent or uninformed about technical matters. And here it is, like when we talk, the more we talk about the technical details, the less they understand. It's like imagine learning Japanese. If someone teaches you how to say hello, goodbye, and count to 5, then maybe you will remember that. But if they continue to have, this is a conversation you have when you're having a coffee, and this is how money works, with all the numbers, if it's like French is atrocious, Danish as well, then you don't remember anything. So that's also why it's so important to, I'm not going to say dumb it down, but make it simpler and talk in there. And then they have concerns about disrupting the, just the current state. Because in a disruption, that's why if there's an organization change, and that is something that every manager is very, very careful about to talk about or to have suggestions about, because that makes people paralyzed and they stop working. And this is so common because someone, even though if they're not against the change, when people don't understand, like, is this my job now? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this gonna, go out the window? Have I been promoted or demoted? They can't work. So they are very concerned about upsetting people. And also the anxiety, if they actually are the one accountable for, making a bad decision and millions go down the drain, that's some, the ball that no one wants to be sitting with. And also the personal reputation. Like if this fails, you will probably not be promoted. And if you're trying to get a new job, that will come with you, because managers are more dependent on their reputation than workers, because we who work or are experts, we can do a lot of mistakes as long as we learn from them. So our job is we need to help them overcome these fears, and we need to see through their tactics. We need to speak their language, and I put it in parentheses, but make them the hero If you can do it, and especially if the managers are very egocentric, you need to make them the hero. Let them stand out and say what needs to be said, and just, stand behind them and whisper like, okay, you say this is going to be fine. Like it sounds pretty bad, but it isn't. They're a different breed. They have different stakes. So align with the corporate values and long-term strategic goals. Like look at their KPIs, look at what their, how the customers might be impacted and these things. And shared goals from you and the leadership. So risk reduction, customer satisfaction, operational efficiency. These are the things that they understand and work with all the time. And we need to be clear with the metrics. So here we are again with the KPIs. New promoter scores, net promoter scores. Did I do a little typo there? This is like how happy the customers are. And I also want to, just open the Pandora's box of the tactics that, what is resistance from managers? Deflection. They say like, this is not my table. This is not my decision to take. Analysis paralysis. They just want more and more and more information, and it wants it summarized and send it again. And then when they have another meeting, they can't move because they're stuck, because they don't understand. Token agreements. They say like, okay, I can support this, but I'm not going to send any people. You're not going to get anything of my budget. I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm going to have someone show up to a meeting every third week, but they're not going to do anything in between. And then the silent sabotage, avoiding attendance at workshops or meetings, or just not doing any work. It just, they're sitting on their phone during the meetings and not engaging. And also delegation without direction. That's also something like, yeah, I'll hand it over to that to, this junior person in my department, and they come and they can't do anything. They don't have the mandate to do anything. So you're just sitting and waiting for that person to go away and come back with something. And the dismissive attitudes. It's like, this is a nice to have rather than a must to have. Also, in the dismissive attitude, it can come in and say like, we just want the low hanging fruit. That's the only thing that we can do. Like there must be some small step that we can do. And also here, the excessive risk aversion. Does anyone ever had a conversation with the customers that the cloud is the most dangerous thing you could ever do? Because it's just, in Sweden at least, it's just like, oh, we will give the American military everything. And we're like, oh no, that's not how it works. It actually has to go through the courts. But, everyone's like, no, it won't happen. And we have the information hoarding. Like they don't share their data with us. We're sitting there trying like, and this is, this is a challenge looking for the KPIs. It's like, okay, how many people, what is the staff churn? Like how many who are onboarded and how many leave? And they're like, I can't do that, or I'll get back to you. And that makes it hard for us to get to the bottom of it. Or, I had one customer who refused to send out surveys because if we asked the questions, what they wanted, the people wanted to improve, then they thought that people would become unhappy because we asked the question. And I'm like, okay, that's not how that works either. But, and also excuses, right? Not right now. Can we do this in the fall? Can we do this later? And just be like, there's whatever in the market, or we're having this product, or we're having these things. And then also then we need to go back to the risks. We need to go back to see, okay, but what you're talking about is actually, if we were more productive, then we could handle this hurdle so much better than not doing it. And also here, yeah, focus on the immediate gains. It will also like, no, we're going to waste so much money on, getting, this consultant and getting these maturity model and getting all of these things. So no, we can't do that. It's just, this month's budget will be hurting. And when we're talking about doing change, real change in an entire organization, it's going to take time. Because we can't interrupt everything. We can't make everyone drop everything that they have and spend time with us for a week and a half and learn everything about all of the services and make sure that they work together all the time. So now I've been talking nonstop. How does this resonate with any one of you? Let's, open the floor.
I love that last slide.
Yeah, well, you will get all of the slides, and we also get the story. I also made like a sheet of more explanation of the financial and the numbers that managers are looking for to get answers to. So it'll be more than just the PowerPoint that you can. It's fictional. All of this is fictional, but it's actually pretty close to the truth. Anyways, so. Any more? Does anyone feel like, yes, this is exactly it, or no, I haven't really done any of this? Okay, Daniel, you have your hand up. Please join with video. Let's talk. Let's hang out.
Sorry, my mic and my boom weren't syncing. A technology maturity problem. I was curious in the premise of what we've been talking about, right? There seems to be an implication that getting through to leadership is generally something that is facilitated from some sort of problem. And at least in the scenario that you're describing, like they have this issue, and then suddenly they're all around the table finding the commonalities. And I don't disagree. As a enterprise software person for 30 odd years, it's very frustrating when you identify risks at the beginning of the project and they tell you to mitigate them, and then you're dealing with the same risks at the end of your project when they become realities. I feel that. Are there any things that we could focus on, though, to try to be proactive? Is it sort of sharing these cautionary tales and saying, hey, this is the risk that I'm proposing, and instead of doing it in dry technical terms, you kind of point to a competitor that ignored the risk. Is that what's sort of like the implication behind the advice here on how to get through to the leadership?
Yes, very much so. Because it's so much better that George isn't working with us, that we can say, ha ha ha, that idiot. But what if we do have one of those idiots here? That will be so bad. And then, because then it's something that they can actually connect to. And then also, like, we're people, we're humans, we love stories, and storytelling is awesome. I heard of this amazing IT manager, not the same thing at all, but it's such an inspiring story. He was trying to upgrade one of their important system, has been trying to do it for so many years, and did the same, the dry numbers for the leadership group. And then one day he just came in there and he showed them Pong, the old game where you say with a thing, and he's like, our system was designed when this was more, when this Pong was popular. And then I'm like, okay, so this system is really old and really bad. It's like, yes, it is. So making it something that they can understand. And then also just, sending out a bullet with that thing, like if there is a risk that you want to handle, we can always find these, bad incidents that are happening in the world, because they do reach the world. So try to find it that is something that has something to do with that, and present that and be like, I don't want to be working here if the shit hits the fan on this thing when I have been talking nonstop about how to fix this. So do we have any questions? Being a little hard, but yes, don't wait until you have an incident yourself.
So use the framework of recognizing that leadership is going to respond better to, a real problem instead of you trying to help them avoid a problem, and kind of create a story to talk in terms of, if this problem happened here like it did over there, what are we going to do? Here's my recommendations. What do we think? And get people on the record, either supporting or denying, what you're highlighting, and that gets them thinking. Okay, great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, and also another trick is to get management arguing with management. That's very good. You get them to. You put the salesperson next to the legal guy. So the legal guy says, like, these are all the things that we have to do, and la 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 for a lot. And the sales guy's like, if I do all that, we don't sell. We don't get any money in. I can't do that. I have to hire so many people, and then we have to rack up the prices, and then we're going to be we're not going to be competitive. Make them argue with each other rather than argue with you. Deb, you had your hand up, and you're on mute.
I'm on mute. There we go. So a couple of the issues that I've seen over the years. One, you've got certain people who are reactive to things and other people who are proactive to things. I'm finding, as I'm getting older, there seem to be more and more people that are reactive to things. And it's very difficult to convince them or show them that something could happen until it actually happens to them. I mean, literally, they're kinesthetic learners. They have to go through it before they get it. So those are very difficult people to convince that they need to make these changes to prevent this from happening. Two, there's that issue of, I got a day job. And unless leadership makes this part of people's day job, it's going to be very, very difficult to move these projects forward and to have them happen. I see this all the time, just dealing with a SharePoint intranet, just getting content for that intranet. People are too busy with their day job to help you with that, let alone trying to reorganize how they're working with content. And it really needs to be stressed to leadership, that this needs to be part of people's day job.
Yeah. And that's also when you pull it into the strategy and you have the long term, and you be like, okay, is this how we want to work? That information is so hard to reach that we have to hunt people down. It's like, do you have anything interesting to say? And they're like, I don't know, maybe. And be like, okay, is this how boring our business is? No. So, and also working with really difficult people, there's another sneaky tactic. And that is to, like, they are listening to someone. Maybe you're not getting through to that person, but they're listening to someone in the company. Someone has their ear.
Yep.
You can either, try to influence that person, and maybe they will convert your message into something that they can understand. And also you can listen and, watch that other person, like, how do they make sense? Like, how do they express themselves to get through to this person? So there's like two tactics to that. And then also it's like, nobody likes surprises.
Well, you always have to find the what's in it for me, for anybody,
Yes.
to convince them to make a change.
Yes, definitely.
But it's just also understanding that there are different kinds of people that respond to change and respond to being proactive to something. It's just, that's where my head's been at the last couple of years, how to convince those people that they need to do something. And it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. So let's see, what do we have in the chat here? Management tripwire. Tell us, Mats, what were you talking about?
No, it was an old project manager friend of mine who always left something in the documentation or something in the presentation or the report or whatever it is that was very visible, but it was insignificant. but it was very visible, a problem, an error, something omitted, something like that. Just to have something that managers could sort of respond to. And once they'd done that, they felt that they had actually contributed to the development, and then they would accept the rest of the report.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. Because sometimes everything you're talking about in this change is just complete news for them. They don't understand anything. And that is a very uncomfortable seat for a manager to be in, because they're supposed to be in the know. They're supposed to be leading. And how can you lead if you don't know anything? And that's another little tactic trick that I learned when I was in Denmark. Was that a very, very successful project manager. And I was just like, how do you do it? And she's like, nobody likes surprises. Gossip to everything with everyone before the meeting. Go and do the one-on-one, go and ask for a favor. So that legal person is like, okay, I'm going to be talking about this and it touches on this. Can you please help me? So I don't want to get it wrong and start an argument about this. And, go to the salesperson, and then you look at that person and be like, okay, what is this person motivated of? Someone can be motivated from like, okay, I want to be a part of innovation. And someone is motivated by like safety, or just being like, yeah, we have a great community here. People are motivated by different things. So go one-on-one, gossip it to everyone, and then you're sitting there in the meeting, and everyone's thinking that everyone else is hearing it for the first time, and you're going to everyone, and they feel seen, they feel heard, and you've been able to, pull in something from, the one-on-ones. Sometimes that's not, possible, but it's a very good things. Yeah. So, okay, I have to go. That was that. Okay, good. Yes. Oh, yes, we're on time. 5:00 my time, but
we're out of time. So if you could show the last slide.
Yes.
We had a couple of questions about, can we have the slides? What videos are available? I want to make sure that people see those links at the end of the
Yes.
presentation. That one. So at the bottom of that slide, you see that there's a link to all of the past videos. They go back 4 years. Same with the slide decks. And if you have any problems accessing those, please let us know. Thank you, Pia, for all of this great thinking. Clearly,
Thank you.
a bunch of people got a lot of value out of it based on the conversation in the chat. And we look forward to talking to you next month about holding a maturity model workshop. And you'll see that some of those ideas will flow directly from what Pia talked about today. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next month.